The movie begins at the hospital where we see a woman named Mary who is giving birth. Beside her stands her husband, Jack, who is holding her hand and is a steadfast pillar of support for her. After a considerable struggle, Mary finally gives birth, bringing forth a baby boy into the world. She relaxes for a moment, but it seems that she is pregnant with twins, and the nurses urge her to hold on for a bit longer. Soon, her little moment of relaxation swiftly ends, as Mary continues her struggle to bring her second child into the world. Regrettably, her happiness is short-lived. As the baby comes out, she sees the nurse's face looking grim, and the atmosphere quickly turns gloomy. The poor woman's fate delivers a cruel blow. The second baby is born lifeless. The scene shifts, and we see Mary back at home with her husband. She is holding her infant son, named Adam, in her arms and is looking worried. As Jack approaches, she worriedly tells him that Adam is not eating. All he does is smile at her, comfortingly. In the background, we see the room is adorned with 2 cribs, a visual reminder of both her profound loss and enduring love. It seems that the poor woman has yet to let go of her other child's passing, since she is unable to part with the empty crib. Night falls, and they go to sleep. At midnight, Mary hears her son crying and quickly comes to comfort him. She holds Adam affectionately in her arms and sings him a lullaby, all the while looking at the empty crib near her. Soon Adam goes back to sleep. The next morning dawns, and the close-knit family fills their kitchen with laughter and joy. They enjoy their new home, a generous gift from Jack's workplace. Mary walks into the kitchen to see Jack holding Adam and preparing breakfast. As the morning progresses, the routine sets in. Jack prepares to go to the office, while Mary stays in with Adam at home. As Jack departs, he jokingly tells Mary to not get lost in the huge house. Mary comes back inside and starts cleaning the house. She unpacks their stuff and begins sorting the bookshelves. As she is busy performing the house chores, she finds an intriguing technology in their new house while going up the stairs, an automated lighting system that responds to human presence. With her house chores finally accomplished, Mary takes a deep breath and rests for a while. Later, she decides to take Adam for a stroll through their new neighborhood. There, she crosses paths with a woman named Rachel, who is also accompanied with her infant son. After talking for a bit, we get the impression that Rachel is an energetic and positive neighbor. Their introduction sparks an instant connection, with Rachel deciding to invite Mary and her son to a future playdate. Mary, who has yet to know anyone in the new place, quickly embraces the idea with a surge of enthusiasm. In the evening, back at home, we see Mary desperately trying to breastfeed her son but to no avail. Later in the night, we see the poor worried woman lying wide awake in bed and blankly staring at the ceiling. It must have been so hard after losing a child, and now her son won't even feed from her. Mary visibly looks very unwell and is going through intense postpartum depression. The next day, Jack is again off to the office and we see Mary in her kitchen. After putting a dish in the oven, she sits alone with a book, enjoying some quiet time. Suddenly, she hears her baby crying through an audio device. While listening carefully, she hears another baby's cry too, which surprises and confuses her. However, we see a glimmer of strange hope and happiness shadowing her features. She hurries to the baby's room, feeling worried and her heart beating fast. She looks at the second empty crib with anxiety and hope, but it is empty. She stands there, looking at the empty space for a while and then moves towards a crying Adam. She picks him up affectionately. After a while, he calms down. She then goes back to her room and while looking at her reflection, breaks down. All of a sudden, she hears the fire alarm and runs down towards the kitchen where her dish has almost burned to ashes. Poor woman can't catch a break. As the night settles, the couple enjoys a cozy dinner in their nice dining room. In this warm atmosphere, Mary opens up to Jack about the baby monitor being broken. Although she does not share the unsettling thing that happened during the day, she asks him to get a better baby monitor. Although he had recently just bought the monitor, Jack nevertheless agrees to get a new one. After thinking for a bit, Jack then brings up a delicate topic, the second crib, a reminder of their lost child. He suggests taking it out, but Mary is strongly connected to her memories and feelings about it, so she immediately disagrees with the idea. The next evening brings a cozy feeling to the couple. They seem really close and happy, thanks to Jack's sweet gift to Mary, a better baby monitor. This new monitor lets them see baby Adam through a camera in the nursery. Jack jokingly comments that although it is advanced, it's a little scary too since their son looks like a baby demon in the dark. Mary laughs and they joke around for a bit before going to sleep. Later in the night, Mary is suddenly awakened by Adam's cries coming from the monitor. She turns around and picks it up to see what's going on. Adam looks fine, but all of a sudden a woman appears near Adam's crib and tries to grab him. Mary's heart beats fast as she rushes to the nursery. However, when she arrives, she finds baby Adam sleeping peacefully in his crib, all by himself and safe. She hugs him close to ease her anxiety, and Jack arrives at the scene too. She freaks out and tells him that there's someone, or something, in there. Jack clearly does not believe her, but he hugs her and calms her down. The next day, Mary has a video chat with her mother and later meets up with Rachel. They find themselves near the peaceful lakeside, having an open and honest talk about the challenges of being young mothers. They connect over their shared experiences, which brings them closer, and they even smoke cigarettes together. Their bond grows stronger, and Rachel invites Mary to bring her child over for a playdate at her house. While Rachel is away for a bit, Mary makes a strange discovery. She realizes that Rachel has the exact same type of baby monitor. This raises suspicion initially, but they come up with a plausible explanation. It seems that the signals from their nursery cameras might have briefly mixed up, showing a glimpse of Rachel's crib on Mary's monitor. Rachel acknowledges this. She mentions the possibility of occasional technical glitches, making the previous situation less eerie. When night falls again, Mary and Jack get ready to go to bed. During their conversation, Jack reveals that he has to go on a week-long business trip soon. While Mary feels a bit sad about it, she expresses her support and good wishes for his trip. The next day, after Jack comes back from work in the evening, he meets Rachel outside. They greet each other and Mary looks from the window visibly unhappy at the sight. Perhaps she is jealous. As Jack comes in, he hugs Mary and takes Adam to change his diaper. As he is cleaning up his son, he finds a strange birthmark on his thigh. He looks at it for a bit but then ignores it. The couple soon goes to sleep and the lights at the stairs strangely turn on and off on their own. The entire house is enveloped in dark energy. Once more, in the middle of the night, the cries of her child wake Mary from her sleep. She holds and comforts her baby until he settles down and sleeps again. However, something unsettling happens next. As she carefully places Adam back in his crib, a strange and eerie chuckle fills the air, sending a shiver down her spine. Turning slowly, Mary comes face to face with a disturbing sight in the crib next to Adam. It's something that shocks her and makes her gasp in disbelief. Terrified, she quickly turns around. Gathering her courage, she looks into the crib again. But this time, it's empty. Nothing there but an eerie feeling lingering in the darkness, leaving her haunted by this unexplained mystery. The next day arrives, and Jack accompanies Mary to a therapist's appointment. They hope that the therapist can help Mary with the distressing situation that she is in. The therapist asks Jack to excuse them, as he wants to talk with Mary alone. Once they are left alone, he asks Mary if she has been hallucinating or anything. The woman refuses to share her experiences with the therapist, and says that she is not. After carefully examining Mary's situation, the therapist arrives at a diagnosis: postpartum depression. With his professional expertise, the therapist suggests that Mary takes antidepressants to help manage her condition. Additionally, the therapist advises Mary to remove any object that might remind her of her loss, believing that it could contribute to her unsettling thoughts. Upon returning home, Mary takes the therapist's advice to heart, and with great difficulty decides to dismantle the empty crib. The next day, Jack takes the initiative to boost security by setting up several CCTV cameras all around their home. When Mary notices these new additions and asks Jack about them, he explains that he's doing this to make sure both her and Adam are safe, particularly when he's away on his business trips. However, instead of finding comfort in this action, it leads to a heated argument between them. Mary believes that Jack's decision to install cameras suggests a lack of trust, and she expresses her discomfort with the idea of being alone for extended period. Jack responds by emphasizing the demands of his job, which sometimes require him to be away, but Mary refuses to acknowledge this point. She storms off. That night, she wakes up to find the bed empty. Mary goes out and finds Jack in the bathroom talking to someone on the phone. But as he comes out, there's no phone in his hands and he denies talking to anyone. The following day arrives. We see Jack getting ready for his upcoming business trip that is scheduled soon. As Jack goes through his preparations, the significance of his departure weighs heavily on him due to the responsibilities he holds. Meanwhile, Mary struggles with the fact that Jack needs to leave, knowing that if he doesn't go, someone else might take his place. It's a difficult situation for her to deal with. As the time comes for Jack to leave, Mary's heart is heavy with a mix of emotion. She watches him go, fully aware of the necessity for his departure, yet already feeling the weight of his absence. With him gone, the house feels even emptier, accentuating her feelings of being alone with just Adam. Jack makes it to his hotel safely and has a video chat with Mary. Later that night, the woman is abruptly woken from her slumber by the sound of the nursery window shattering. Acting quickly, she calls the police to look into this alarming event. After a thorough investigation, the detective concludes that the intrusion was likely caused by a local group of teenage troublemakers. He reassures Mary that these kids have been involved in similar incidents before. He tells her to call for help whenever she needs it, as he lives just a few blocks away. Despite her doubts, Mary decides not to argue with the detective's explanation. She finds some comfort in the idea he presents, even though she remains skeptical. The next day, Rachel visits her at home and offers a little comfort. Later, in the midst of the stormy night, Mary sits on the floor, absorbed in reviewing the CCTV footage from the unsettling previous night. She closely examines the images captured by an indoor security camera, trying to make out a misty figure that appears to have broken in through the window. As she leans in closer to the screen, the figure terrifyingly moves its neck towards the camera. Mary becomes convinced that this entity has intentions of kidnapping her son. Driven by her fear, Mary starts a determined online investigation. She searches the internet for stories about mythical creatures known for snatching babies. Her research leads her to an article recounting the experience of a woman named Jane Henderson who claimed that a demon had taken her child. Mary begins to see eerie similarities between Jane's story and her own distressing situation. While she is engrossed in her research, suddenly the lights go out. Scared, she calls Jack, but his phone goes on voicemail. Mary quickly gets up and takes Adam with her downstairs. There she lays him down and goes to check out the switch. Suddenly, the door bangs shut, separating her from her son. She tries to open it, but to no avail. Upon listening closely, she hears someone near Adam, trying to keep him from crying. Terrified, she opens the garage door and runs outside. Then she breaks into her house and runs to find Adam safe and alone. What's even more terrifying is that the door she was trying to open is already wide open. Determined to find answers, Mary pays a visit to Rachel, sharing her strange experience last night. Rachel takes it upon herself to contact Jack and update him about the unfolding situation. As Rachel is busy chatting cheerfully with Mary's husband, Mary gets a little irritated and looks at her son. Then she suddenly finds the birthmark on his thigh. Mary revisits the image of Jane and her child from the previous night's online source, noticing the identical birthmark on Jane's baby. This discovery shocks and compels her to seek out Jane. When Mary arrives at Jane's home, she introduces herself and is greeted with a warm and sympathetic reception. Jane opens up about her own experiences with the supposed demon, explaining that she felt a constant sense of being watched whenever her child was around. As they talk, Jane plays a disturbing voice recording from the night her baby was taken. In the recording, a haunting voice states that Jane's daughter is now the demon's. Jane stops the recording abruptly, explaining that it still deeply affects her mental state. Through this exchange, Mary learns more about Jane's ordeal and the eerie events surrounding her child's disappearance. The unsettling voice recording adds another layer of mystery and dread to their discussion. Afterward, Jane reveals an old and ancient book filled with information about the sinister demon known for stealing babies. Jane talks to Mary about a serious dilemma. Mary must choose between giving up her own child or finding another child to offer in exchange. With this heavy decision hanging over her, Mary leaves Jane's place in deep thought, the weight of the choice burdening her mind. The scene shifts, showing Mary holding onto the book and the unsettling voice recording. Her journey home is marked by a mix of enlightenment and fear. She now possesses a deeper understanding of the situation, yet the gravity of the decision she's faced with continues to haunt her. As the night falls, Mary finds herself trapped in her thoughts, grappling with the difficult choices ahead. Suddenly, her deep thinking is shattered by a disturbing feeling. She becomes highly aware of being watched, as if someone is observing her through the gaps in the vent above her bed. The next day, Mary is seen on a video call with her mother. Unexpectedly, the screen starts to distort, revealing a sinister and threatening figure which says that it needs her son. This sight shocks Mary, causing her to panic, shout, and hastily close her laptop in fear. For the rest of the day, Mary immerses herself into intense research about demons and their lore. She spends a significant amount of time delving into this topic, ultimately ending with her lying on the couch, absorbed by her studies. Once more, Mary is suddenly disturbed, this time by an unsettling sound that fills the air. Intrigued and anxious, she sets out to discover the origin of the noise, eventually tracing it back to the baby monitor she had forgotten about. The eerie sounds persist, almost as if the demon's presence is making itself known through the device. Driven by a mix of curiosity and fear, Mary engages in a chilling conversation through the baby monitor. She records this dialogue using another device, hoping to find answers from the enigmatic creature. However, the demon's response is never heard, and the screen suddenly goes blank. In the following scene, Mary stands before the window, watching Rachel and her baby arriving back at their house. For a moment, she contemplates saving her baby by Rachel, but she quickly gets a hold of herself before her thoughts deteriorate any further. She quickly comes back in and takes her meds. Afterwards, the poor woman stands in front of a mirror, her reflection revealing the exhaustion and weariness etched across her face. The toll of the overwhelming experiences she's been through is evident in her appearance. Mary breaks down crying due to the eerie combination of supernatural threats and the anxieties of motherhood wearing her out. That night, Mary lies awake in her bed, her senses on high alert. The stillness of the night is shattered by an unfamiliar sound that fills the air. Reacting swiftly, she grasps the knife she had ready, preparing herself to confront whatever might be causing the disturbance. With a mixture of determination and nervousness, Mary ventures forward, following the source of the sound. Her steps are guided by a blend of resolve and caution. What she discovers is unexpected. Jack has returned from his trip. His sudden presence startles her, and she's holding the knife in a defensive stance. But seeing her disheveled state triggers Jack's protective instinct. He immediately embraces Mary, holding her close to offer comfort and reassurance in the midst of her distress. The next day, Jack tries to lighten up the atmosphere by trying to make small talk, but Mary looks totally out of it. He then takes Adam for a stroll, and Mary opts to stay inside with a book. Time goes by, and Jack comes back with Adam, bringing some coffee for Mary, who is unaware of the time ticking by. At night, Mary finds herself unable to find rest, pacing back and forth within the bedroom. She speaks her thoughts aloud, her mind consumed by worries about her abducted child and the malevolent demon that haunts her thoughts. Jack is shocked by her words and runs to Adam, who is sleeping in his crib. He brings Adam into the room, using the sight of their safe child as a tangible reassurance. Although Jack attempts to calm her, he recognizes the severity of the situation. It's evident that Mary's mental state has been deeply affected. He looks worriedly at what has become of his wife. The sun rises on a seemingly transformed Mary, radiating an unexpected vitality as Jack readies himself for work. This newfound cheerfulness catches Jack off guard. He worriedly goes to work. After he departs, Mary calls her mom and they chat for a bit. Amidst their conversation, when Adam keeps crying, Mary unexpectedly shouts at the baby to shut up, catching her mother off guard. Afterwards, Mary occupies herself by preparing a bath for Adam, yet her tranquility is shattered when she hears Jack's voice, beckoning her to come out since he can't hear her. As Mary exits the bathroom, the door slams shut and locks behind her, triggering a surge of panic. Fearing for her child's safety, she desperately seeks a way out. She calls Jack, but he is nowhere to be found. She runs outside and her cries for help echo through the street, but no one comes to her rescue. She finds an axe and uses it to break down the door and save Adam. Inside, she sees the evil demon and involuntarily steps back. The demon slithers its way out towards her. She musters up her courage and shouts at the evil creature to leave her son alone, but the repulsive demon pushes her down the second floor, causing Mary to faint. Mary awakens in a hospital room with Jack by her side. He scolds her for her impulsive actions, emphasizing the recklessness of her behavior. Mary, however, defends herself, asserting that she had taken extreme measures to safeguard their child. In response, Jack shows her the CCTV recording as proof of her actions. As the footage plays, Mary's tearful reaction suggests that she believes the demon has tampered with the video to manipulate the truth. Frustration and doubt lead Jack to briefly leave the room. When he returns, he holds baby Adam in his arms. He offers Mary a tablet that will allow her to monitor their child from her hospital bed. Lovingly, he urges her to focus on healing and regaining her emotional stability. As he prepares to leave the room, Jack says a final goodbye, leaving Mary to grapple with the fractured pieces of her reality and her own emotional turmoil. At night, Mary remains attentive to the home's CCTV, observing Jack tending to their baby's bedtime routine. He then goes down and calls someone. Mary checks her phone, but it's not her. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door, signaling Rachel's unexpected arrival. Mary is astonished as the two of them engage in an unexpected illicit romance. However, Mary pushes aside her hurt feelings and quickly shifts her focus back to the nursery camera. As she continues to watch, the sinister figure of the demon reappears on the camera, triggering a surge of determination within her. In her urgency to protect her child, Mary rips out her IV line and escapes from the hospital. She races back to her home in desperation, fueled by her maternal instincts and the fear of what the demon might do to her baby. When Mary arrives home, a chilling sense of emptiness envelops the space. Both Jack and the baby are nowhere to be found. A sudden realization hits her. Rachel's Halloween party next door might hold the answers she's seeking. Driven by this realization, Mary sets out to confront Rachel amid the festivity. Accusing Rachel of having an affair with Jack, Mary's confrontation disrupts the party atmosphere. In an attempt to defuse the situation, Rachel guides Mary to the kitchen for a private conversation, vehemently denying the accusation and explaining the misunderstanding. Tensions continue to rise and Mary's emotions reach a breaking point. In a chaotic turn of events, she grabs a kitchen knife, and her behavior becomes increasingly erratic. When Rachel tells her to think about her son, the woman calms down and falls on her knees, crying. Rachel quickly runs out to find help. Back inside, Rachel's baby crying triggers a sinister idea in Mary's mind, a horrifying plan to the infant to the demon. When Rachel returns with a neighborhood police officer, Mary is nowhere to be found along with the baby. They soon find Mary locked up in a room with Rachel's baby and a knife clenched tightly in her trembling hands. The weight of her actions crashes down on her, and she's overwhelmed, breaking into sorrowful sobs. She wants the baby, but her hands just won't go down. Outside the window, a crying Rachel and a group of concerned neighbors gather. Their unified plea for Mary to spare the hangs heavy in the air, creating a haunting scene of collective desperation. Amidst the scary situation, Rachel quickly decides to call Jack. His voice comes through the speaker, attempting to serve as an anchor for Mary amid the turmoil of her deteriorating mind. Jack's voice is a lifeline, trying to ground Mary, who passionately insists on her sanity, her words echoing her deep desire to protect her child. However, Jack's voice is suddenly distorted and she hears the voice of the demon again. Mistrust grows like a poison within her. She becomes convinced that the voice she hears is not truly her husband's but a demon in disguise. Holding a blade, her arms rise, ready to strike, her mind consumed by an intense determination to shield her child from the perceived threat she believes is present. Amid the chaos, the police officer intervenes just in time, firing a shot that echoes loudly in the room. The bullet finds its mark in Mary's chest, thwarting her deadly intent toward the infant. Jack arrives shortly after, only to be met with the lifeless form of his wife lying on the floor. The room is enveloped in a heavy atmosphere of grief and loss. Time moves forward, and now Jack is the sole caregiver for baby Adam. Night falls once again, and as Jack goes down after tending to the baby, he stumbles upon the recording Mary had made during her conversation with the demon. In a chilling revelation, the truth begins to unravel before him. It becomes clear that the sinister entity is after their child. It had manipulated Mary to another child in order to save their own. Regret washes over Jack and his heart starts to beat faster. Suddenly, a foreboding shift in the atmosphere catches his attention. A light flickers to life across the hallway. Instinct tingling, Jack runs up towards the nursery where an ominous aura hangs heavy. He slowly approaches and his gaze pierces the crypt. The movie ends with a petrified expression on Jack's face. If only he had listened to his late wife.